So I've let this dry. I didn't put as much plaster on in the end as I thought. I thought, well, it's not like a massive mould, so hopefully I can get away with it. And it's all set, and now I've got the task of getting my life cast out and getting the clay out of my mould, hopefully without breaking off too much. So let's see, because unfortunately due to working full time I've left this a bit long. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm using a rough sponge with some water, and I'm using that to scrub off what's left of the clay on the back of the mould, on the back of the mould. So I'm just starting to get like the details of the teeth coming through and stuff. So it's getting there, wrangling and soaking and such like. It now looks like a mould. Is pour in some latex and coat the whole thing in latex. Take my little dish. I'm going to put a little bit of water in and water down my latex, because this latex is quite thick. Dry that thing. Put a bit more latex in because that's a little bit thinner than I wanted. We'll pour all that in. And swish that around. This is going to give it a thin layer of latex. I've now dried off the prosthetic, and what I'm going to do now is take some loose powder. Ideally you want like a translucent powder, but the only one I've got to hand is this foundation one, and I'm going to dust the inside just to stop it sticking to itself. Luckily this is not going to really like change the colour of it or anything like on the outside, so just dust this all over, especially around the edges, because you don't want the edges sticking to themselves. Okay, then I'm going to peel it off, and at the edges where I've cut through the plaster it is sticking, but all I've got to do is trim the edges later on. And I find I don't need to dust like this side because it's already got like a sort of dusty coating of the plaster and clay. But you can if you want. Normally you would. And I did about 5 layers of latex in the end. But my latex is quite thick. So you might need to do more. And I've cut there and there so I can breathe, and obviously I've cut there so I can see. So it's like that. I've trimmed off the one side where I've still got the jawbone just so it matches the other side, and I'll see what I can do when I've applied this. So first of all I've got to paint it, and to paint it I'm going to use a mixture of this buff titanium, which is like a fleshy colour, some black, and white acrylic paint. So I'm just going to squeeze those out into my palette. And I'm going to dry brush this. So when you're dry brushing, you start off with the darkest colour first, which for me is going to be like a dark grey that I'm going to make. First of all, I've got to squirt out my paints. The big tubs are great, but it's hard sometimes to get the paint out. Okay. And I'm going to take the black and the white together. I want a fairly dark grey. I've let this dry, and what I'm going to do now is dry brush one of the lighter layers on top. So first I'm just going to wipe off some of that grey off my brush. And I'm going to add some more white to this grey and some of this like sort of fleshy colour, and mix them together. It's like a fleshy grey type colour, especially if I put a bit more black in. Okay. Wipe off as much as I can off the brush. So my brush is going to be quite dry, and I'm just going to use that to go over the top and start to expose some of that detail. And what I'm doing is I'm using the brush, the paint's quite dry on the brush, and I'm just using the very tips of the bristles across the surface of the prosthetic. I may take off the lower jaw. I haven't decided yet, but I'm not quite happy with how the lower jaw's turned out. And you can start to see the detail of the texture that I've put into the sculpt. I like how doing this technique makes the textures stand out. Because I did do this as textured as I could get it. Looks like that so far. Debating whether I want to take this bottom jaw off. I'm not sure yet. I may still remove the bottom jaw. Okay, and I'm just going over it. Okay, that's gonna could do like a bone colour if I wanted, but that's not really what I'm going for with this. Cause it's not just a sort of skull. This is like one of my little sort of idea for my little creature that I'm making. So okay, so that's pretty much that layer done. I'm just going to turn it around so I can see what I'm doing with this bottom jaw. To show shame I broke the mould, because that bottom jaw was working out alright until I broke off the side. Never mind. Then I'm going to take more white this time. And it's not pure white yet. It's still a mixture of that sort of fleshy grey. Wipe most of it off my brush, and I'm going to use this over the very lightest areas. My brush is a bit wet. Get some off on the palette. I don't want that much on the brush. I'm just going to go over the very top of the mask, like the highlights, the areas I want to stand out. So you're starting to make those areas around the eyes stand out, and I want to make this bit stand out a bit more, and the teeth. I'm having to wing it a bit there because I've damaged those teeth. And just skim the very tips of these like textured bits that I've put in. And basically that's what you do when you dry brush, is you just go, you start with your darkest colour and work your way to the lightest. Just brings out all that texture in a really nice way. Bit more. I'm going to add a bit more white now. Like I said, obviously a sensible person would cover the desk, but I'm lazy. So make sure you put something down to protect the surface you're leaning on. I don't mind, because this is like a cheap dressing table type thing that I got from a charity shop, so I don't mind if I sort of trash it a bit, because it's my workbench for my artwork as well as this stuff. Just very lightly with the brush now, just tickling the very surface, just to bring out some of that detail. That's it, that's the prosthetic all painted and ready to go. In the next video I will apply it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.